Hello everyone and welcome back yet again to Guidebound, the series where we go through a game using its strategy guide and of course continuing StarCraft Brood War in this case. Last time we left off finishing the Terran campaign and it was incredible. I really enjoyed the Terran campaign. Also the Protoss before that was incredible, but now we move on to the Zerg and we are going to be part of the Swarm. There's no doubt the tactics are going to be slightly different given that we have a new playstyle, so why don't we jump into the first mission and see how that goes. Here in mission 1, if we pull up the map, it's called Vile Disruption, and that is because the side disruptor is being used against Kerrigan's forces, and we need to try to stop that from happening as they are attacking each other. So our goal is to only move from base to base that are the numbered locations on the map and defend each hatchery. We don't have any base management or resources, so this mission is relatively simple, at least at the beginning. The author doesn't even have any notes as I start the level here. All he says for the first few bases is to take these initial starting units and then run up and try to protect the base. That's all we need to do. So as we move throughout this, let's see how it goes. As I make my way over here to the second hive, the author basically says for these first 3, all that we have to do is run over and defend them. Nothing crazy is needed at all, no specific strategies. The author does make a note at this point that we're gonna face an ambush at one point. Oh, there it is, right here. Now the good thing is we have our Hydralisks and also these Hunter Killers. They are those powerful hero units, so we should be good to go. Already at the third base where we get these Scourge, the author says that we're going to be using these right away because the next base is going to be under attack by some Guardians pretty shortly. Here they are. Have our Scourge run down because I'm pretty sure it's only 2 per Guardian that is required. He says there's a few additional Guardians that we need to search for that are going to be lying in ambush for our Hydralisks. Oh, actually, it looks like they're attacking the base. I don't know if that's intentional, but regardless, we're able to take them out even easier. So there we are. Now, at this base, the author wants us to roughly split our units, some in the north and some on the west. He does also say there's going to be a handful of waves that arrive, so we need to pull our troops back, because he does mention the Sunken Colony here, if I can pronounce the name correctly, will help tremendously with our defense. And sure enough, yeah, we were able to save a ton of units here, so that's going to be very helpful. As one might expect, here we are at going to the 5th hatchery. It's a relatively easier mission, being the first level in the Zerg campaign. It's nothing too crazy, and the author's notes are not that extensive. It's more just a few tips here and there about how to manage all of these bases. And also, for example, as we get attacked by these Ultralisks, he says not to use the Spawn Broodling ability on them. Instead, to save it, fly them on down, and then we can use it on some Ultralisks here. There's one, here's another, and then there should be a couple more. We'll do that there. And then on the last one, right here. There we go. And now we can continue moving all of our troops down. This next base, the 6th one, should be relatively easy. Just a handful of Mutalisks that all of our Hydralisks will take out very quickly because they're powerful. We get a couple of these Defilers, but he doesn't make notes about how to utilize them specifically. But we do need to transfer through these Zerg Nidus Canals, which is an awesome building here, that takes us over to the next island. He mentions that we need to liberate the Zerg Hive to get reinforcements. And here we are. A bunch of our own units are popping up now. I don't really know how to utilize this. I don't know, I can't even use a plague because it'll just hurt my own units, but I don't think it's even necessary because we just took everything out here. This might have been one of the easiest times I've had following the strategies so far. It was really straightforward and it didn't entail a whole lot. Looks like a second wave is here of units. And maybe that's it. We may already have won the mission. Yeah, wow. Sure enough, just like that, mission 1 is done. Well, when we get into mission 2 and then pull up the map, it's called Rain of Fire, and we need to now destroy that side disruptor. But we start in the bottom middle, and there's also a couple of options for new bases around us. but basically the top half to a third of the map is the enemy Terran base. We actually took a psi emitter from Mengsk, and so our first objective according to the author is pretty simple because we just run around and then are able to capture some Zerg units using that psi emitter. For example, we come over here and we take out or gather these drones, nice and quick. I think because I paused the game before this dropship came over, it dropped the SCV, and the dropship is just sitting here. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. Okay, but it just disappeared, so that's good. The author also says we just need to build a hatchery right away. Of course, no surprise. Otherwise, we just run around gathering a few units, and then we'll see what he wants us to do after that. Well, we found some additional hunter killers, and the author says that all we need to do after this point is move up north to one of those mineral bases, but on the way, capture one of those hero-level Zerglings called Devouring Ones. And then when we get to those minerals, we need to have all of our Zerglings take out some siege tanks, or at least one siege tank, while the Hydralisk takes out a bunker. So we'll do that next. Well, we see a bunker over here, but I don't see any siege tank, so maybe it's not just yet? I'm not entirely sure. But we took them out relatively easily. I mean, of course our Zerglings sustained some damage. Oh, I see. Here are those Devouring Ones. Okay, so we'll take these over, and then that'll replace some of the ones that we just lost. Well, let's just go with the author's plan regardless, and we'll continue moving up north. Okay, Zerglings attack the tank. Everybody else can attack the bunker. Yeah, that worked out really well. The author also said that if we move east of that base, or that bunker rather, that we're going to be able to find Torask, which is that extra powerful unit from the last mission of the Terran, somewhere over here. He didn't mention this bunker though, and it's blasting me also with a siege tank. Okay, let's try this again. Zergling's gonna run over and focus down the siege tank while the hunter killers focus on the bunker. Yep. There we go. So I suppose we should find Torask over here somewhere? I mean, we found some additional hunter killers, which is great, but I don't remember where Torask is hiding. Where is that? Hello, Torask. Where are you? I don't remember where you are. Well, the nice thing is I did stop another attack from coming to the base, but where is Torask? It's an extra large hero unit, Ultralisk. Can't be that crazy difficult to find, right? Oh, I finally found him. He's literally just right to the east of the mineral fields. Not over here if I look on the mini-map. Okay, great. Now we can continue seeing what the author would like us to do next. After we get all of our production up and running, of course, just the usual, going up the tech tree in any way that we can. He then wants us to go to the second mineral patch, so that's what we'll do. Alright, our units are stationed here where that path branches off into two different ways, so now we can focus on continuing to build up our base. Oh, this is surprising. I'm actually getting assaulted by the north end of my base. I did not expect a dropship to move some units over here. Good thing Torask can run over very quickly. Well, I now have that second base up and running, very well established with all of the drones and these defenses placed around. So what's the next thing that we should be doing? It looks like to attack the side disruptor in the Terran base, we need at least 4 full groups of mixed units with Zerglings and Hydralisks. There is a note that we'll probably need to have multiple waves, so we'll also prepare for that and continue building units, not only relying on that first wave. And if anything, we can do a small group of Mutalisks, having them fly up to the left-hand side of the map, and then go over to the east from there. Mainly as a diversion though, he specifically says that, otherwise they will get destroyed by the mini-missile turrets inside the Terran base. So we'll build up the force and then start the attack. Here we are, we have our nice large army of the 24 Zerglings, or 2 groups of them, and then 2 groups of Hydralisks. So we'll see how the assault goes as we go up basically just the front of the enemy base. Well, here we are, fighting up a ramp. This is not necessarily the best way to start to assault the base. And this is kind of an insane defense. Wow, just struggling really to get my units to run up the base here. Yeah, that's gonna take a number of assaults because that is not a lot of damage I'm able to do. Took out the 2 siege tanks, so at least wave number 1 did that at the very least. Well, okay, we took out the bunker as well. In 1 second. There we are. You know what, I have an idea for this time. For this next wave, we're gonna include Torask. Such an awesome hero unit, and he destroyed plenty of my own units during that last mission of the Terran campaign, so I think it's his turn to shine for our side now. And I did build some Hydralisks over here to try and distract the base. So let's start with a little bit of distraction, see how this unfolds. There, just kind of hit and run tactics. Okay, everyone seems to be running over here. I mean, I didn't do a ton or anything, I got 1 unit, but maybe that's gonna distract him. With that, we're gonna have Torask now lead the way, and everybody else can go up and attack. I guess there was more that was destroyed here than I initially thought, or maybe they did actually move all of their units up over there. Because this is really easy so far, pretty lightly defended. Well, now we're just having our entire army continue to assault over to the east, and this seems much, much easier now, so maybe the Hydralisks did actually work. But also, I mean, Torask is just a tank. This unit is awesome to be able to use. Yep, sure enough, here's that side disruptor. Let's have some of our units attack it specifically here, because I believe this is the only thing we need to take out in the base. We don't actually need to destroy all of the buildings. Yep, just like that, mission number 2 is done. Here we are in mission 3, and when I pull up the map, it's called the Kel-Morian Combine, and the reason for this one is because we need to capture minerals to be able to build up the Zerg forces. 10,000 minerals specifically. Although this map is fascinating for a couple of reasons. The first is that, of course, in the bottom left, that's where we start, and there's a couple of bases per usual that we can expand to. But instead of the map being infested by Zerg, it is completely infested by Terrans this time. Not only that, but the author makes a very specific note that unlike all the previous missions, or at least the majority of them, where there's different ways to go and there's a clear path or maybe some arrows pointing to different things, in this case, all of the enemy bases are roughly of equal strength. The first thing though that he does want us to do at the very beginning, because we don't have our own base yet, we need to attack a small Terran installation, and we do that by having some Ultralisks attack a bunker, and then having our Zerglings and Hydralisks go for the Marines that are in the area. So that's the first thing that we'll do to start this off. Alright, Ultralisks can run on by as everybody else takes things out. They're going to focus down this bunker, although I need to micro this one back. It's taking some heavy damage. Okay, further back. Wow. That was kind of ridiculous. I think that needs to be a lot better. Alright, Ultralisks getting completely stuck on everything over here. I mean, this is better than the first time. Let's micro you back so you don't die, because your health can regenerate. Now run you back in. Yeah, you know what, we'll take this. This was at least better. We lost the Zerglings, but we still have the Ultralisks, and yep, this is good enough to be able to establish our base. Well, having taken everything out, and now we can bring over our drones to start the base. We also have Phoenix, by the way, so we'll see what the author says to do with him. First things first, we need to move our troops to the northeast, because that is the only entrance into the base. However, he does suggest that we build some defenses with Phoenix and then some spore colonies at the back of the base, because the Terrans are going to try and drop there. One of the reasons I am so curious about how this mission is going to unfold is because there's something I've never done before as part of my strategy when going through this game countless times in the past. I've never tried to infest the Terran command centers on this mission. I've only gone for the 10,000 minerals. The author says that although it's not necessary to destroy every Terran structure, once we've either infested or destroyed all 5 of the Terran command centers on the map, or collected 10,000 minerals, then we win the mission. However, for every Terran command center that we infest, he says that that will help us on the next mission. I never knew that, and so this is going to be a really interesting test, even for me, after all these times going through it, to do it differently. So I think this is going to be the plan. We will go for infesting 4 out of the 5 Terran command centers to see how that helps us in the next mission, and then we'll go for the 10,000 minerals after that. But per usual, we're going to get this base up and running and get everything ready and good to go. We'll position our units over here to the northeast, and then we'll see after we build up the base what the author would like us to do next, because per usual, we're just going to go for all of the upgrades and all the structures, and yeah, then we'll go from there. Well, here we are getting our base pretty established, have everything built up to a nice extent. I have some defenses all around, you can tell here. Still have my troops hanging out over at this entrance to the base. I was getting attacked pretty consistently off and on here and there by some small groups. Same with on the backside here, so you can tell I have a decent number of defenses, along with Phoenix hanging out to help bolster the defenses. With all of this in place, what's the next thing that we should be doing? Same thing as the last mission, we should be going for at least 3 or 4 groups of units, wave after wave, to be able to take out the Terrans. Thankfully they won't rebuild, it looks like, but we're still going to need to have plenty of units attack again and again. There is a tip section where it looks like Zerglings, Hydralisks, and then a couple of Ultralisks need to be part of each attack wave. Yeah, we'll just continue building up and getting everything ready to go, and then once we have everything set, we can see how all of those various attack waves unfold. Alright, this time to try and give the Terrans a taste of their own dropping medicine, we are going to use our units up here, there we go, and attack this area to actually be able to take out and expand up here. Well, this wasn't really part of the plan, but we did end up building some sunken colonies up here, and that should definitely help us to be able to take over this area. There is a Terran command center right here that we will work on infesting, but we want to clear out the area from all of the Terran defense first to make it easy for our queen to run up there. Now that we established over on the upper ledge of the base, they really don't have many defenses left at all, so we can take this out pretty easily. We do have a queen over here to infest, which it's doing right now, and there we are, our first command center. Well, we now officially have our first 4 groups of units with a couple of Ultralisks, plenty of Hydralisks, and Zerglings as you can tell, so I think we're ready to assault this first base. Why don't we go to the one that is directly north of us first? Well, here's another base, and immediately another command center. Surprisingly, this has almost no defense whatsoever. These bunkers are completely empty. I am a little surprised at this. Maybe they tried to send all their units at us when we were attacking the other base, but I don't remember that much orange being there. Well, regardless, I mean, we'll take it because that'll be nice and easy for a second command center. Oh, you know what? Actually, I just realized when I look at the map, the route that I took is actually to the middle base. So it looks like this is one of the smaller bases of the Terrans. Ah, okay, so that must be why. Well, we brought our queen over, and we are going to now make sure and infest this second command center. I actually forgot, maybe because it's so rare to actually infest command centers, that you can lift it off. I completely forgot about that. So I'm going to lift this off, and I'm going to take it back to the home base, so that way it can be tucked away nice and safe, especially since the first base I inadvertently assaulted was this central base of the Terrans. Well, we have all of our groups of units now for a second attack wave, or I guess it's the same attack wave, but let's see how it goes as we try and take out some of these units up here, focus on the siege tank as the author mentioned, and then we can take out all of the bunkers next. Yeah, it's going pretty well, I would say. I mean, battlecruiser, but we just have such an overwhelming force that we're breaking through this pretty easily so far. Well, we have our assault wave number 2 going here, and I feel like this has to be it. I don't think there can be anything else. I'm keeping the queen on here because it's very difficult to stop everybody from attacking this command center. So yeah, we'll make sure to take it over. There we are. Now we don't have to consider it being destroyed. And just like that, I think we're going to wipe out the rest of the base here. Nice and easy. One thing this mission does extremely well is it definitely makes you feel like you're part of the swarm. And I'm sure that I will probably say that again in later missions because from my memory, I think there are a couple where you do really start to mass up a lot of units. But yeah, this is going really nice so far. I think this is a great campaign. With that, let's assault the next area. Send everybody over to the next base. Wow, this is a really well-defended base compared to some of the other ones. A lot of siege tanks here, as you can tell, and they're spread out extremely well. Wow. All right. Well, we will just do the same thing again. All right, let's go over here. Assault wave number 2. How far can you get? Hopefully further than the last one, because we've already taken out a decent amount of units. Again, wow, that is so crazy. So many siege tanks. This is like a professional player or something. This is the same kind of strategies I see that pro players do, where they spread out their siege tanks well. That's really impressive. But yes, we're gonna be good. Just took it over, so we didn't have to worry about actually losing the command center. Let's immediately fly you out of here, just in case anything crazy happens. Want to avoid losing it. And we'll just continue taking out this base. This was number 3 for the base, and this is number 4 for the command center. I mean, we can't have 4 infested command centers without at least making some infested Terrans, right? For example, we'll do this one right here at the same time. Just like that. We'll do this one. That should get both of these, I think. Like that. Here. Yeah, infested Terrans are amazing. I really enjoy them, and we don't get to use them very often. So, there we are. Well, we're just about to get the 10,000 minerals, and the map probably took me just about an hour and a half. But this was an amazing experience, and we have these 4 command centers that are infested. So I'm really curious to see how this unfolds and how it affects the next mission. And I don't know, sometimes it's nice to take the extra time and just go through things and enjoy it. Just like that, mission 3 complete. Well, here we are in mission 4, and you know what? This is amazing. So I've never seen this before because I never took the time to infest command centers, and we start with all 4 of them over here. So first of all, I love that. And if we pull up the map, it's called the Liberation of Korhal because we now need to attack both the Terran and the Zerg to take back the planet of Korhal to give it to Minsk. When we see what the author has to say about this map, he mentions that an Ultralisk will be attacking us pretty early on, so we'll keep an eye out for that. But also, we need to be sure and create 2 or 3 full groups of Zerglings to attack Area A. Once we do that, we can take over that location for the minerals in Vespene, because there is no other Vespene on the map for us outside of our starting location and at Area A. After we get the base, he wants us to do 5 sunken colonies and 5 spore colonies. And of course, he'll want us to build some of those defensive structures at the main base too. So let's get everything started and see how it unfolds. You know, one thing that's amazing about this mission is we have 4 hatcheries that we start with. The developers did an amazing job of trying to teach you how to go about playing the Zerg. Oh, you know what? Here's the Ultralisk. Let's use an infested Terran on it. There we are. Amazing. But anyway, what I was saying here is it's pretty amazing that we have these 4 hatcheries because the developers are trying to show you how to play the Zerg, where if you have an abundance of resources, build extra hatcheries to increase your production of units, and then truly become the swarm. So this is already going to be a great mission, for sure. We have our 4 groups of Zerglings here. Let's run over to the base and just take it out really quickly. Even though they have a fire bat in here, I feel like it should be pretty easy, hopefully. I mean, it's utterly destroying our Zerglings, like 10 kills. That is crazy. But okay, even despite that, we should take this over, or did we need even additional Zerglings? I feel like this should be fine, hopefully. Yeah, we're oh good. There was only 1 Marine in that bunker, and then these 4 unloaded for me, so I appreciate that. Now we can take over this base, build up the defenses, and continue from there. Ooh, a decent sized attack force coming down here at our extra base. Good thing is that we have our Zerglings over here and plenty of defensive structures as the author wanted us to. We have 5 of these spore colonies, and then as soon as I upgrade this, we'll have 5 sunken colonies. We also did quite a bit at home here if I upgrade these right now, and I feel like we're now good to continue to the next piece of advice. The author does make a note that we are going to win this mission by sheer numbers. So all we need to do is continually produce mass cheap units. Per usual, he wants us to upgrade our units, and then when we're ready to attack, go through the northern passage to Area B. And then once we're able to take that out, he doesn't want us to assault the base that's south of B because he mentions it's well fortified. Instead, we're going to build up a few Guardians and then assault it that way. Well, here we are assaulting this first base location B. Let's see how it goes. It's a little less defended than I initially thought, but I'm sure that will probably change shortly. Here we go. Alright, here's a lot more defense. Let's keep an Overlord nearby in case there are lurkers. I do feel like we're going to take out the majority of this, though. Going pretty good so far. I definitely see what the author means by we just need to continually mass troops. At some point, it's probably better to not actively watch everybody fight and try and micromanage, but instead, just continually throw troops at the enemy. Just continue to throw all of our units across the map. Same with all of this over here. Just throw everybody over. We do need to make sure that an Overlord stays nearby, though. As I mentioned before, we don't want to get attacked by a lot of lurkers and then not be able to do anything. And of course, we're going to expand, and it looks like we do have some additional Vespene. That wasn't noted in the strategy guide, and probably because it was updated after it was already written for the strategy guide, but that's okay. Let's continue moving on over, controlling our troops as best as we can. There's so many, it's going to be hard to track all of them, of course, but we'll do what we can. This is what being the swarm is about anyway, so. Alright, well we did bring over these Guardians, just as the author suggested, being careful with these missile turrets. Take out some of these static defenses. I said be careful, and then I immediately have them run into range, or fly into range. I do notice I say run quite a bit, but I mean fly, I suppose. Same thing. Well, we have an enormous number of units here, and we're going to continue to build them. But let's see what the author says for the next step. It would seem that to attack the northwestern Zerg base, we need to set rally points from our hatcheries and hives to a position right outside of their base. That's really good advice, because then we don't have to do as much micromanaging of moving the troops over there. They're already going to stream and then just run over there as soon as we build them. And then also we need to include some Mutalisks with this attack. So why don't we just have our units stream over there, but before we do that, we'll set a rally point right to the outside of the Zerg base here in the northwest. Here's the main assault force. Let's see how this goes. Having the Mutalisks over here to help out with the assault, but we don't want them to get taken out by too many spore colonies. It's mainly to reinforce in case there's lurkers. Well, the front line is looking pretty amazing right now, despite the number of defenses the Zerg has. Yeah, this is definitely going well. This is such an awesome mission. I mean, the amount of times that we just send wave after wave is incredible. The last mission was already pretty intense, but it's amazing that this one took it up even one more level. And here we are. We already made it through to the heart of the Zerg base. We're going to take out all of these Overlords, because I don't remember, but I do know that the author makes a note that we need to take out all the Overlords to not leave a single unit surviving in order to win. Hopefully it's only the structures we need to destroy, but I'll kill the units just to be on the safe side. What is the final piece of advice the author gives us to take the southern Terran base? Same as before, he says to build wave after wave, and you need at least 5 or 6 groups at one time constantly streaming down into the Terran's base. He does actively advise that we can use some infested Marines against this southern base, so I think that we have to do that. We don't get to use them very often, so let's take full advantage of them. Well, because we have our awesome array of units over here, we'll continually build and make sure that they stream over as well. But let's attack south, and we brought over some infested Terrans because they should be able to help. The only thing is, they can be so bizarre to use. They're very weak by themselves, and they tend to sometimes not explode when you want them to. So we'll first send in all the other units, and then attack with the infested Terrans to try and blow up some of the defenses as well. It's a little bit difficult because, like I said, you don't want them all to explode at the same time. There, we took out that one. That was really well done. Let's run over here. Our units are doing extremely well by themselves, but let's see if we can run through the middle. And yeah, I mean, I think everything is going great here, except a lot of them blew each other up. But we did take out a good number of units. I mean, we might just finish the base right here, to be honest. So let's come back up here, continue sending units down. I really think that we only need to destroy all of the structures, which should be just about complete. Is this the final building on the map? I had to search quite a bit because it can be hard to find them sometimes. Sure enough, that was the final building. Thankfully, I didn't have to search for too long, but now that is mission 4 complete. Here in mission 5, when we pull up the map, it's called True Colors, and that is because Kerrigan is now betraying both the Terrans and the Protoss that had just helped her. This map is a little bit interesting for sure, because on the left-hand side we have only Terrans, and then on the right-hand side it's only the Protoss bases. We also get 6 minutes of a surprise attack, where we can attack anything on the map before they retaliate or build any additional units. The author does say we want to focus on the Terran side of the map first, because they are closer to us. It looks like we should also build only Zerglings and Hydralisks and no drones in order to do as much damage as possible to the Terran side. Well, why don't we see how much damage we can do in the first 6 minutes, and then we'll see what he has to say next. Well, here's our base. Let's immediately have some of our units selected and just attack move over there. We can take our lurkers and probably... I'm going to send that down to the southern base. But here's a few additional Zerglings. We're going to do that over there. And we do want to constantly reinforce. Here's a few additional units right here. All right, there we are. And just have everybody attack. Everybody move down. Well, we brought our lurkers down here to the second Terran base. That way we can start taking out some of these structures. Everybody else is up north here, taking out the first base while we consistently reinforce and build more Zerglings back at home. And this should really allow us to take out the majority of structures at this first base, and we can pretty quickly move everybody down south again. We do want to make sure to take out all of these production structures, at least as many as possible. That way they're not able to reinforce. Like even right here, that doesn't really matter. We're going to keep going south to take out as many of these production facilities as possible. Yeah, because it's going so well with the Terran side, why don't we at least take out some of the Protoss structures around us? Oh yeah, wow, we are taking out a ton of these structures here. This is great. So as soon as this is finished, I feel like we're going to be in a great position to not really have to worry too much about being counterattacked, at least not quickly. It's definitely going to happen still. But yeah, this is going great. I mean, we even have the extra Zerglings, thanks to the author's advice, to attack some of the Protoss at the same time, which is wonderful. And this is going to help us tremendously to not have to have such an enormous counterattack happen as soon as these 5 seconds are done here. And then we can continue taking out this base, which is going to be really great, especially this robotics facility, because we do not want to have to face Reavers if we don't have to. We're still going to find some, I'm sure, but it shouldn't be as many. Now, while that's taking place, the author does specifically mention, right now I'm back at the base, if I pull up the guide, to immediately create 6 sunken colonies around the starting base location, and then once we have those, to do an equal number of spore colonies. And also he wants us to place our units at the entrance to the Terran base, so they cannot attack us easily from that direction. And it looks like once everything is secured, we then need to build 4 additional hatcheries to be able to mass produce a bunch of cheap units. That sounds like a great time, so I think we should get started on this. We are moving our units over here near one of the bridges, which is exactly what the author wanted, and then we're going to be sure that back at home here, we upgrade all of these sunken colonies and make sure that we also have 5 of them and that they're nicely spread out. Oh, sure enough, it looks like the sunken colonies are coming in great handy. Oh wow, I am just about to get nuked, and my units are not anywhere near the base here. Well, so let's watch the nuke go off against us, since I can't do anything about it right now. Well, there we are. Let's run our Zerglings up and try to recover. Well, here we are. We have the 5 sunken colonies all in place, and then we also have the 5 spore colonies, 5th one being right here. Outside of building these additional hatcheries right here, and then also expanding, of course, per usual, we need to be sure and also upgrade all of our units, and then we'll see what the author would like us to do from there. Well, you know, now that we have our bases really well established, all of the additional hatcheries took over this location, even started taking over this location, we've been building an enormous army of Zerglings and Hydralisks, which is great. Let's see what the author says in terms of assaulting a base next. So it would seem that we can choose either the Terran or the Protoss, and he does give us an option of using Ultralisks now, which is wonderful, because last mission we weren't able to use them, in combination with, it looks like, some Guardians as well. Basically, it seems like his final advice just has to do with overwhelm the enemy and constantly send in reinforcing troops. So our economy is incredibly strong right now. I feel like that's what we're going to work on next. Well, once again, I feel like now is the moment of truth, where we assault one of the bases, going to be the Terran, I think, in this case. And yes, we have an incredible army that is almost completely maxed out. Now we just need to see how it fares. Send over all of our cheap units first, like Zerglings across the bridge, followed by everybody else. And I am just so curious to see how this goes. The Guardians are going to be amazing against entrenched positions like this, especially up on the high ground. So let's see how this unfolds. Alright, let's continue pushing on in, little by little. We're making progress, although maybe not little by little. This is actually a really good amount of progress. Now we do have to be concerned with battle cruisers. I know that the author makes a note that we have to watch out for that, so there could be a handful waiting for us. Well, sure enough, here's a battle cruiser. Let's take that out. Our Guardians are safe. One of the only things that we need to do now at this time is take out General Duke. You know what's a unit that we haven't used up to this point in the campaign? Are the Scourge. And the author does give us an option to use the Scourge, just that we have to be careful with it. But in order to take out General Duke, I think this might be fitting, and this should be enough. Let's see where he is at. Somewhere over here. There we go. Yep, just like that. Took him out. Well, now that the Terrans are officially defeated, the only base left is going to be the Protoss, and we do essentially the same thing. The author says that we can mix in some Mutalisks if we need to help out with the assault, so why don't we do that? Have a little bit of everything. Well, sure enough, the Protoss base is falling extremely easily at this point. Just such overwhelming power with this sheer number of Zerg. So really the only thing left to do is kill Phoenix, and then the mission will end. Here is Phoenix, right here. And you know, you can use the Spawn Brutaling ability to kill him immediately, but why not give him an honorable death? I thought that was going to be the end of the mission, but I suppose we actually do need to take out every structure. So let's continue doing that. And with the last building destroyed, Mission 5 now is complete. If you can believe it, that now takes us up to 21 out of 26 missions. Or is it 26? We may just have to see if that is the correct number as we go into the final episode of Guidebound for StarCraft Brood War. On a quick note, I will say that the Zerg campaign has been amazing so far, same as the two previous campaigns. This has been a really different playstyle and one that I enjoy because it's one that I typically don't do when I play StarCraft. And as always, thank you all so much for being here. I do really appreciate it. We'll see you on the next episode of Guidebound, and hope you have a great rest of your day, wherever you are.